the love of HR. Hello, lovely people, and welcome back to For the Love of HR. I'm Richard. I hope you're doing well, and thanks for joining me for this episode, which is focused on organisational development. It would really help the channel if you could watch until the end, subscribe, like, and all that good stuff. Thank you. In episode 1, we introduced the HR accountability framework with its 26 accountabilities across 4 big domains: HR business partner, HR functional partner, HR governance and performance excellence, and HR innovation and development. Over this series, we're diving into each one, and later I'll share practical models, tools and templates you can use to become a stronger people practitioner. We're still working through the HR business partner sub-accountabilities, and today we turn to one of the most strategic and transformative areas: organisational development, or OD as many call it. This one sits right at the intersection of structure, people, process and culture. And when done right, it has the power to completely reshape how a business performs and adapts. And here's how I define it. Ensure the organisation's structure, roles, processes, systems and culture support current business needs and enable future transformation by partnering with leaders to shape how the organisation is designed, aligned and led. In simple terms, it's about making sure the way your organisation is built actually helps it perform today and adapt tomorrow. OD isn't just another HR initiative, it's the engine of transformation, the bridge between strategy on paper and execution in real life. It's how you make sure structure follows strategy. It's how you align culture, leadership, processes and systems so people can perform at their best. And it's how you make sure your organisation is fit for today and built for tomorrow. Now let me show you what I mean visually. Think of organisational development as an alignment engine. At the centre, you've got OD, and around it, the key gears: strategy, structure, culture, leadership, systems and processes. When these gears connect and turn together, the organisation moves smoothly forward. When one jams, the whole system struggles. That's the real value of OD. It keeps the engine of performance running in sync. Now let's take that idea a step further. If the engine room gives us power, the wheel gives us motion. Think of OD as a wheel, a living system that keeps the organisation balanced and moving forward. At level 1, the wheel is flat, disconnected spokes, poor alignment, constant wobble. At level 3, it turns but unevenly. Some spokes strong, others weak. At level 5, it spins smoothly, every spoke representing structure, process, culture and capability, perfectly aligned and in rhythm. That's OD maturity, the system that moves forward effortlessly because every part supports the whole. So let's look at the business impacts when OD is weak. When OD is weak or neglected, it doesn't collapse overnight, it erodes slowly. Strategic drift. The structure no longer fits the strategy. Teams work hard but on the wrong things. Cultural misalignment. Values are just words, not behaviour. Silos grow, trust erodes. Process chaos. Seen this a few times. Workflows are outdated or duplicated or unclear. Friction builds. Role confusion. Accountability blurs. Decision making slows. Low agility. The business can't adapt quick enough to change. Leadership fatigue. Leaders firefight because the system won't hold itself up. Engagement erosion. People lose purpose and connection. And as always, the customer ends up being impacted. Internal alignment always leaks into the customer experience. Change resistance. Without OD, change feels constant not constructive. And finally, talent turnover. When systems don't make sense, good people leave. Do any of these sound familiar in your organisation? Please drop a comment. I'd love to hear what you've seen. Okay, let's look at the HR impacts. Inside HR, weak OD shows up differently, but just as painfully. HR ends up fixing symptoms, not causes, because structure and process misalignment go unaddressed. HR ends up firefighting outcomes, high turnover, disengagement, poor collaboration, without solving what's really driving them. Talent frameworks don't fit reality. Competency models and job architectures exist on paper, but they don't reflect how work is actually organised. Capability development happens in isolation. L&D programs build skills, but not the ones needed to deliver the strategy. There's motion, but no direction. Engagement scores drop with no clear why. People say they're confused, disconnected, or unclear about how decisions get made. All classic signs of poor organisational design. HR becomes reactive. When OD isn't strong, HR gets stuck in cycle mode, plugging leaks, managing crisis, and running after broken processes. Processes aren't owned. No one knows who owns what. HR policies are clear, but workflows are not. Bottlenecks form in silence. Leadership burnout spreads. When the system is misaligned, leaders spend energy compensating for poor design instead of building capability. Transformation efforts stall. Without OD, change management becomes a series of disconnected projects, none of which fully embed. HR credibility suffers. If HR isn't seen as the architect of alignment, it becomes the custodian of problems. Culture becomes inconsistent. Each leader defines how we work their own way, and the organisation loses its shared rhythm. When OD is strong, HR acts as the architect of alignment. When it's weak, HR becomes the mechanic, constantly repairing what's broken. Which of these have you experienced in your workplace? I would absolutely love to hear your comments down below. Thank you. Now, let's look at some of the misconceptions and the reality. Let's look at some of the most common misconceptions I hear from leadership teams. Leaders understand and are educated in OD. Well, the reality is most leaders have never been trained in OD. They know structure and people, but not how to connect systems, culture, and process. OD is HR's responsibility. Well, OD actually is a leadership accountability. HR facilitates, but leaders own alignment. OD means rewriting job descriptions. That's one of the things we often do, but job descriptions are one output. OD is about how work is organised and how decisions flow. If people are performing, the structure's fine. Well, strong individual performance can hide weak organisational design. Success isn't always sustainable. Culture develops naturally. Well, in reality, culture drifts unless intentionally shaped. Without OD, it reflects convenience, not commitment. Processes are just operational details. When you look at organisations, processes are the arteries of execution. If they're outdated, strategy starves. We'll fix OD when growth slows. Well, in reality, by then it's too late. Strong OD enables growth. It doesn't just tidy up afterwards. Change management and OD are the same thing. Change actually is the event. OD is the system that sustains it. People issues are HR issues. They're organisational issues. OD shows when systems cause behaviours. People issues are HR issues. Well, clearly they're organisational issues. And it's interesting because OD shows when systems cause certain behaviours. OD is too conceptual for our business. OD is the most practical discipline there is. It's how work actually gets done. Now let's turn to some HR misconceptions and turn the mirror on ourselves. Most HR leaders are educated and experienced in OD. You'll be very surprised to know that many know the theory, but few practice it systemically, linking structure, process, systems and culture into one model. We have all the tools and templates we need. Tools don't create transformation, people do. OD is about application, not possession. It's our role to wait for senior leaders to request OD. When we say our, I mean HR. Great HR leaders provoke OD conversations. They surface misalignment before it actually becomes dysfunctional. We're confident, HR is confident, injecting ourselves into senior leadership discussions. Sadly, many still hesitate. True OD partnership means stepping in, not waiting to be invited. We have time to manage OD on top of everything else. Yes, a HR leader is busy. However, OD requires focus and intention. When HR is buried in operations, OD becomes a someday project and the business drifts. OD belongs to a specialist or consultant. Yes, in some organisations that is the case. However, specialists can guide, but sustainable OD is built internally through collaboration. If structure and culture seem fine, we don't need to review them. Well, healthy systems still need tuning. Continuous OD keeps alignment tight. We can manage change without OD. Well, you can deliver change, but without OD, it won't stick. It won't embed. We're too small or too busy for OD. Yeah, I understand this comment, particularly if you're a startup or an SME. However, every organisation practices OD. The only question is whether it's intentional or accidental. And finally, OD is a soft skill. In reality, it's one of the hardest disciplines in HR because it deals with how systems and people behave under pressure. So what works instead? As HR professionals and business leaders, our role is to start with diagnosis. Listen, observe, and use data to understand what's really happening. Define the desired state, for example, using OGSM. What does fit for purpose look like now and in the future? Design intentionally. Align structure, roles, culture, systems and processes with strategy. Engage leaders early. OD succeeds only when they lead it. Communicate transparently, very important. Bring people along, not just announce change. Embed and align systems. Make sure recognition, feedback and rewards reinforce the new design. And finally, review and refine continuously. OD is never done, it's a living system. When OD is done right, you feel it. Meetings get shorter, decisions get faster, energy returns. People start talking about what's next, not what's wrong. So here's my challenge to you for this week. Pick one of these questions and answer it honestly for your organisation. Is your structure helping or hindering your strategy? Are your processes designed around customers or convenience? Does your culture help your people succeed or slow them down? How often do you step back and ask, is this organisation still fit for purpose? Well, that ends this episode. Thank you for joining me on For the Love of HR. Remember, organisational development isn't a project, it's a process of continuous alignment. It's about creating the conditions where people and performance thrive together. If this helps you, give the video a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. Until then, take care and keep doing what matters. Building organisations that work because they work by design.